his ability to organize music events, such as this one, from about 1918, where he took care of the music for Judge William H. Harrison.
But I just want you all to see the Bob Marovich in Chicago. Yeah, the people's eye.
Hey, how are you? Welcome. Yeah. We are in the Windy City.
All right, so welcome to Gospel Diaries. We are so dedicated to preservation and celebratory work, and we're excited that you would join us for another episode of Gospel Diaries. So if you would take a moment and please subscribe and share this content. Is from my heart to yours. But do you see this enormous smile on my face?
You always have a smile on your face.
But it's bigger this time because I'm sitting with an icon, well, someone that's inspirational to me because his work, your work is just amazing.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it.
You can tell you take your time and your heart is definitely in your work.
Thank you.
And I'm speaking about none other than Mr. Bob Marovich. Well, Robert, Bob, whatever.
Either one works.
How you doing?
Good. How are you, Eric?
I'm all right.
Thanks for coming in and doing this.
Well,
I appreciate it.
Thanks for allowing me. Oh. And also, it's cold here.
Oh. I know. We should be coming to Arizona to do the interviews. It's cold. It really is.
Yeah, but I'm grateful to be here. Okay, so look, your platform, it denotes all elements of education, and your publications and your radio show is one can be really educated from your work on the importance of black culture in America. Yeah. And it allows the world to enjoy some satisfying primitive music, of course. You pay homage to many contemporary artists as well. So let's delve into your Gospel Diary. Is
Thank
that cool?
You. That's right. Absolutely.
All right. So when you read your literature, it's apparent that your writing is second nature to you. Please tell us your humble beginning as a writer.
Oh, yeah. It's a great question. I started writing when I was like in probably elementary school. In fact, thankfully, I actually have the first little book I ever wrote called Pride of Duchess. It was about a horse in Florida. And what my wife noted about that little book when she read it, she said, you seem to be focused on time because every page would start 25 minutes later, then 10 minutes later this happened, and 20 minutes later this happened. But I always had that interest in writing going back, since knee pants.
Oh, wow. And so I must ask you, so how has gospel music inspired you so much that you revolved, your literature around the genre, your literary work?
I think a lot of it just had to do with the fact that when I first started writing about gospel music, there wasn't a lot out there. There wasn't. Our library only had 2 or 3 books. I read all of them, and there really wasn't. We're talking in the 90s. Okay. So you had the Gospel Sound, Tony Heilbut, you had Viv Broughton's Black Gospel, and you had the Oxford Book of Blues, Jazz, and Gospel, and that was pretty much all there was. And in 1995 or so, when I started really thinking about gospel, I wanted to learn more, and it just wasn't that many resources. So in the late 90s, when the gentleman who ran Blues Web out in Vancouver Island had asked me to do the gospel section, I was really learning as I was doing. And he asked me to do a song a week, what I thought ought to be on somebody's record collection or playlist. And honestly, I go back and read some of those and I'm a bit embarrassed because it shows how much I didn't know. Oh, wow. But I was trying to learn as much as I could and just experiencing the music as well as I could. And so I'm grateful for people like you who have come along, and there's been so much material and research since then to really educate people. But yeah, I didn't know. I was really not well knowledgeable on gospel at 95 or so.
Oh, interesting. Well, I could put it like this: you became the student that taught the teacher, and now you're the teacher that's teaching more students.
Well, right,
so to speak.
And it's nice because I've always approached it as gospel music as an art form. Okay. If there's one thing that kind of pulls it all together, whether it's contemporary, traditional, whatever, it's that it's an art form. It's like jazz, it's like blues, it's like the American songbook, it's like classical music. It's an art form. And I think gospel hasn't gotten that acknowledgement of being an art form. I think partly because of the religious part, people get sometimes turned off. In the secular world, they get turned off on music that they think is maybe trying to convert them or proselytize. but it is an art form, and that's what guides my work all the time.
Wow. And I love the fact that you utilize the word art form, because before we end this segment, I want to ask you this question. We know that gospel music is like one of those primitive American, music that was created here. So is there any opportunity, do you have any, plans on going outside of the genre of gospel or any of its counterparts in literary work?
Oh yeah.
You do?
Matter of fact,
Okay.
I'm working on two things right now. One has nothing to do with gospel. The other one has a little bit to do with it. I'm working on a book on the history of VJ Records here in Chicago. Many years ago, long story short, I met the daughters of two of the presidents of the company, and one of them, her mother had a storage unit full of VJ corporate papers. And over a period of time, I purchased them from her, and I have there's probably 30 or 40,000 documents from the company. And so I've wanted to do a book on VJ for many years, going back to the 90s actually. And so now I'm working on that. There is a gospel component. There's a whole chapter on gospel, as a matter of fact. But it's covering all of what VJ did, from Jimmy Reed and John Lee Hooker and the Spaniels and the Eldorados, to the gospel's staple singers and the Swan Silvertones, to the Beatles and the Four Seasons and all that. And then the other project that I'm real excited about, and this may be where the writing comes from, is my grandfather was a Polish immigrant. He immigrated here a couple of times. He wrote his memoirs in the 60s. Literally died while writing them. He wrote them in Polish, in a dialect of Polish that was very hard to translate. But I found translators about 20 years ago, translated his memoirs, and have sat on them. And I've decided, I took it as a sign last year that I need to start on that. And so I have begun to put his memoirs into book form. And those are two projects I'm working on now that have nothing to do with gospel music.
Wow, well, I'm excited because, once you're bitten by the gospel music bug, it really opens up your mind or your perspective to different areas, because I might as well just say I'm a music enthusiast across the board. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
same here. Same here.
All right, so Gospel Diaries, we'll be right back.
Yeah.
See you later.